Melinda, so there's this new game that's coming out, and I really want to get it.
Don't you already have a ton of games?
I mean, I wouldn't say a ton, but I got a few.
Have you even played all of the games you have?
She had a point. It seemed silly that I had all these games, but have only played like 10 of them. So I made a deal to myself that before I buy another game, I'm going to play each and every one of these games. Batman Arkham Asylum, one of the modern classics. I remember playing this game on the PlayStation 3 when I was a sophomore and just being blown away by how fun it was. As many people before me have said, this was one of the first games to really make you feel like Batman. But as I played through it this time around, I was kind of curious. With Christopher Nolan's Batman series, Ben Affleck's Batman, and the most recent Batman film, I wondered how this game stood almost 13 years after its release. And you know what? It's still such a good game. Having played this game many times before, I decided to be a big boy and play through it on hard. I didn't get any achievement out of it though, which kind of pissed me off. I mean, I even did the exact thing it said to do in order to get the achievement. But whatever. I'll be honest, I kind of surprised myself. I thought I'd have a much more difficult time, especially with the dodge signals being gone. However, because they weren't there, it forced me to keep a closer eye at the enemy's movements. And in a way, I had to be more like Batman. I didn't just spam the attack button and hop around the room. I needed to use my tech a lot more and fight a little more strategically if I wanted to survive. The same went for the stealth portions of the game. Getting spotted was very unforgiving, and getting shot on the hard difficulty could very well mean an easy death.
Joker was right, he was easy.
It made me feel a stronger sense of risk and forced me to strategize my plans of attack. I couldn't just take my enemies head on.
The direct approach is suicide. I need to be smart. Find a different way past them.
Hold on, a direct approach is suicide?
The gameplay still felt very smooth to me, despite the game being more than a decade old. In fact, aside from a few weird camera angles during the dialogue, this game actually really held its own, which I think is mainly due to their stylistic approach of setting and character design. It felt like a good balance between realism, similar to Christopher Nolan's approach, while also bringing in those comic book vibes. What really showcased this was solving the riddles, as it showed some pretty campy characters from the past, but what it would look like if that character fit into this modern, gritty style. I kind of liked that the game didn't shy away from showing some early Batman villains and adapting them to modern interpretations. As expected, the character performance were still pretty stellar. Everyone's voice work was incredible, even if some of the dialogue was a little cheesy.
Ready for the next round?
Always.
What?
I'll never let you win. Never.
However, what wasn't cheesy were those interview tapes. In fact, they were actually one of my favorite aspects of the game.
Patient interview 9. Dr. Crane continues to evade questions. I believe he is quite sane.
It's easy to forget that Arkham Asylum is an asylum and not a prison. So catching a glimpse of my favorite character's psyche was such a nice touch that also added an aspect of horror to the entire scenario.
Fear drives everything, Stephen. Everything. Your life is governed by fear. Every decision you make is a product of that fear.
Don't be ridiculous.
You married your wife, Margaret, isn't it? Because you were scared of dying alone. You have children because you're scared of leaving nothing behind that really matters. You go to the doctors because you're scared of dying. Do I need to go on?
No. I think that will be all for today. Guards?
I felt like I was listening to a horror podcast. In fact, if anyone wants to create an entire listening experience similar to the interview tapes of Arkham Asylum and really dive into some obscure Batman villains, just know you already have one listener. Also, I expect some royalty checks in the mail if you do create this podcast, because this is totally my idea. I want to take a moment to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Dr. Pepper and cream soda. Brought to you in the sense that like this is what's giving me joy. It's not like a paid promotion. They're not paying me to say this. They're not sponsoring the episode. They probably don't even know that I exist. But this episode is still brought to you by this because this is really good. I mean, if they want to sponsor me and send me these as payment, I will accept that because, no, yeah, Dr. Pepper and cream soda is really good. I mean, if you love Dr. Pepper as is, mixing it with cream soda, this slaps, man. Anyway, brought to you by this. Speaking on the horror elements of Arkham Asylum, I don't know if it's just because I was desensitized as a high school kid when I first played this, but I didn't really notice how scary this game is. The first encounter with Scarecrow was straight out of a horror movie.
Father, you should have stood up to him, son. Like a man. Mom?
Help us, Bruce! Don't let us die!
And then the eerie tape recordings of the Arkham patients, the Titan transformations. And Killer Croc's lair. It was all legitimately horrific, which only adds to the genius of it all of making you feel like you are Batman. Being Batman isn't a fun job. It's scary dealing with all these villains. But being Batman also requires you to conquer your fears and punch those fears in the face and or ass. Batman Arkham Asylum is a horror game disguised as a superhero game, and I love it. Will I play this game again? Of course I will. It is a classic, and it honestly doesn't take too long to beat the story, or to even 100% it, so yeah. Without a doubt, I could definitely tell my wife, yes, honey, I've played this game.
Check it out.